Hey there, been a while. So here I'll be talking about the concept of you are enough, which you hear quite frequently in self-development, but I'll also be merging it with another concept called it's not enough. So kind of a positive negative type thing. You're enough, but it's not enough. So what do I mean by this? Let's start with you're enough. So for this, I'm going to assume that since you're already pretty far in my videos that you have some desire to improve your life and hopefully you have some big goal. You are enough. You're enough to do the things you want to do. You're a human being, and humans are simultaneously capable of the best and worst things on the planet. All that matters is that you're a person and other people have done the things you want to do. Even if you're lacking in some areas, you're still enough. You, as you are enough to have a good life. Even if you're not that smart, you're enough to finish college or start a business. Smarts do matter, but they only matter if there's action backing it up. A person who's not that smart but does what's required to finish college is going to beat the smart person who doesn't do what's needed every time. Now, if you get smart and start taking lots of appropriate action, then you're going to be in your own entire league. Anyway, let's say you never got into self-development. Let's say you lived a life working for minimum wage your entire life. Even still, you're enough to live a good life if you're able to make it happen with those means. But to be realistic with you, if you do that, you're greatly decreasing the likelihood your life will go well. So make things easier on yourself by just figuring out ways to make more money. Don't struggle needlessly. Some people enjoy the struggle secretly, but remember, struggle is only valuable if it's teaching you some type of lesson that you'll use. Sometimes suffering is necessary, but try to get rid of all excessive suffering from your life that doesn't serve a purpose. On the flip side, if that same person working at 7-Eleven wanted to suddenly become a white-collar worker in an office, they are enough to do that. All that's required is that they get the necessary skills, apply a lot, and be likable when they're interviewed and show that they're able to deal with people well. You are enough because you've survived on this harsh planet up until now, you're enough to be here, and you've earned the right to be here. You're enough to do the things you want to do. So now that you know you're enough, which you automatically are and that can never be taken away from you, what do I mean by it's not enough? So since you're into self-development, you likely want to improve yourself and probably by quite a lot. You're enough to make those improvements, but most likely the efforts you're putting in aren't enough. How do I know this? Most people talk the talk but don't walk the walk. It's much easier to put on a facade than actually make the core changes that would elevate your life. So let's say you read some self-development books. Hopefully you've read at least one by now. Well, it's good that you're at least reading, but you want to be amazing, right? Well, if it took you over a year to finish that book, I hate to tell you, but you don't actually want to improve that much. Or you do, but you aren't putting forth the serious effort needed to make major changes. When you're into a book, it doesn't take that long to finish it all. You can finish a self-development book in maybe 4 days, a week max. Now there are times I'll read a book more slowly because it's really profound and every other paragraph is making me go whoa and put the book down to think because I'm so blown away, but that's something I purposely do to take it in. But you're enough to read that book in a manner that would fit someone seriously trying to level themselves up a lot. You're enough, but you want to be more, so your current efforts right now probably aren't enough. I'm 30 now, so I'm taking things a lot more seriously because I realize time isn't infinite for me. If I acted like I had 40 years to do everything I wanted, yeah, I'd be more relaxed. But the truth is, certain things are expected of you around certain age ranges. Don't beat yourself up for not having them, but try to be a little aware. Is the current life I have the life I want for the rest of my life? No? What am I missing? Have I made serious efforts to get that thing? If not, I hate to tell you, but I disagree with that popular song from decades ago. Time isn't on your side. Certain things in life can pass you by if you don't start taking them seriously. I'm not trying to be mean by telling you this, I'm trying to prevent you from waking up a decade from now and realizing you don't have what you want and that it would be very, very hard to get. I promise you will live an easier overall life, which sounds weird if you start working towards the things you want deep down right now. They say comparison is the thief of joy, and yes, that's true, but well, if we're never competitive, we don't really know where we are in the race. I could say comparison is the thief of joy and then just do really badly at my job, and yeah, I could find ways to rationalize it, but eventually I would wake up one day and realize that I'm not happy because I'm not putting forth my best effort. So while that can be painful to do, sometimes it's good to actually compare yourself with people it's reasonable to compare yourself to, ask yourself why they have what they have, and then ask yourself if you want it and what you can do to get it. But still remember that you're on your own journey. Where comparison truly is the thief of joy is say I've been doing my job for a few years, but someone's been doing that job for 40 years. As much as I'd like to think I know my shit, the guy who's done it for 40 years is going to smoke you almost every time at nearly everything. So it'd make no sense for me to compare myself to him in that scenario since he literally started way before me. But people around your same age, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to compare yourself sometimes to make sure you've not gone too far off the path. Sometimes you need a serious wake-up call. You want to know a secret? It's not just that you're enough, you're more than enough. You're watching self-development for God's sakes. You're actively trying to be better. You're more than enough to get what you want, you just don't put forth enough effort to get it. So it's very comforting to hear that you're enough, and you are. Nothing's stopping you from living a humble life if in your heart of hearts that's what you want. But likely, you're capable of so much more, and the current force you're putting into that just isn't enough. Let's say you randomly thought, yeah, I'm in shape. Good, it's cool that you believe that. Can you jog for 5 minutes without getting tired? You'd be surprised how many people can't. So that's an example of a comforting belief that someone has that's actually false, but can be made true through actual effort. Let's say you're a guy and you want to get into a long-term relationship with a girl, but you're worried about your money. Well, dude, there are guys that are literally in jail making no money that have girls. What do they have that you don't? Edgy danger, basically, right? Well, how could you incorporate some of that into yourself? It's not like you want to literally be like them, that would probably be a terrible idea, but maybe you could incorporate 1% or 5% of them into yourself. A lot of guys forget that girls do want some of that edge on a guy to keep things from being boring, just not to the point where it's overwhelming, which will push them back. Anyway, let's get back to you are enough here. As a guy looking for a long-term relationship, you're enough at your current money level to start dating someone. Make it clear that you're trying to get to higher levels, and yes, it sucks that guys are basically required to do this, but we still basically have to be providers and society's competitive, so that's the name of the game. But make it clear that you have drive, which should be a given at this point, be nice to be around with the girl, make enough to sustain some sort of lifestyle, have some interests that you're passionate about, and you won't have a hard time with girls. Ask yourself, do I want to be single the rest of my life? No? Then what you're doing right now isn't enough currently, but you're enough to do those things. Remember, comfort is a very seductive, hypnotizing thing, but it's often not what's actually best for you. I could lie in a bed all day every day with the fan on me, but what would eventually happen? Quickly, I'd lose my job. All of a sudden things would get less comfortable as the electricity gets shut off. Because I didn't do my due diligence, life would suddenly become very hard for me and that false sense of comfort will be taken away. As not fun as it is to think about, this applies to a lot of areas of life. You have to at least make some sort of effort at them, otherwise nothing's going to happen. You can want a steak all you want, but unless you go to the store and get a steak, you're not actually going to get one. You can want to be good at a sport all you want, but if you never practice, well, it's not going to happen. You can want promotions at your job all you want, but unless you make it clear that you're exceptional, the chance it'll happen is quite low. I'm telling you, things are easier when you do more than what's needed. It takes more effort, but your life goes much more smoothly. So this would be a good time to figure out what your goals actually are. Some people call them dreams, but this might surprise you, I've never actually liked that. The very idea of a dream is something unattainable, something that feels like magic, like it's not even in this reality. So if I say I want to achieve my dreams, it's like I believe I can't even do it from the start because dreams are something we experience when we're sleeping. So any dream of yours, just call it a goal instead, a goal you actually seriously want to accomplish. Obviously not all of these things I'm about to list at once, but seriously ask yourself what your goals, not dreams, are, or just your singular big goal. Is your goal to get in or stay in a happy relationship? Is your goal to get really good at a video game or sport? Is your goal to read tons of books and apply that knowledge? Is your goal to write a novel? Is your goal to make a positive impact on humanity? Figure it out, there must be some overall reason you're here. If you're just kind of ticking away the clock here, well my friend, it's probably time for you to get into some philosophy or read some self-development. Because while that is technically a life, you know you're capable of so much more. Enjoy yourself, but make sure you're making the steps to be who you want to be when you're much older. Your brain's tricking you when you think you have all the time in the world. Every day here is a gift, and the truth is every 4 or 5 years is a certain time frame in our life when we're supposed to have certain things done. Now some people are late bloomers, I certainly was, but try to keep in mind where you're at. People are often disappointing, but that can lull you into a false sense of security. So one way I mean this is at work. It's almost comedic how bad a lot of people are at staying at a job for more than a few months, weeks even. It's almost like they want their livelihood at constant risk. Now sometimes the company just needs to get rid of people, and no one's ever excluded from that, including me. I found that companies will always find ways to get rid of good people. But anyway, it's so much easier to be better than the scrubs that it almost makes you want to just coast along like that. But remember, you're a person into self-development. You want to be the best version of yourself. Don't be satisfied by merely being better than people who don't have what it takes to even do the bare minimum. Start looking at the high achievers at your job and what you can do to be like them. Is it more skills, more knowledge, more effort? What will it take? Don't act like they're your enemy, act like they're someone you can learn from because you can. Everyone in this life can teach you some sort of lesson that helps you. The first and easiest thing you can do with work is just simply don't do the negative things other people do. When you cut all of that out, you're automatically ahead of probably 80% of people there because let's be honest, a lot of people just suck. They can have good qualities, but people are going to disappoint you a lot, that's a fact. Now I don't mean the core team that I work with, we're a skeleton crew holding up an entire department with way less people than we should have, but we're past 10 videos in, so I will be getting harsher because without that I can't really change you. I can give you positive feel-good stuff and that would be easy, but remember in one of my very first videos I said this wouldn't be all flowers and rainbows. You can't tell the truth without offending people. If people can handle what drill sergeants say, you can handle what I'm saying. Just remember that I'm always wanting you to be living a good life underneath all of this. So anyway, let's get back into it's not enough. When you leave your job, if you do and someone calls them, would they be glowing when they talked about you and help you get that next job? If not, I'm sorry to tell you, but it's basically necessary that you start being better where you're at so that your future is easier, not harder. Stop screwing yourself over just because you like the warm feeling of comfort. Start deriving satisfaction from a sense of duty and knowing you're doing good work. So let's try some more examples of you're enough, but it's not enough. So as we get older, almost everyone has some sort of thing they want done by the end of their life, whether that be painting or creating something or anything like that. I'll be a little nice here. If you've produced quite a bit of stuff already, you're on the right path and doing well. Just remember, pat yourself on the back, but don't let success get to you. That's why so many creators who suddenly get rich, especially authors, have their work suddenly become bad because they're not hungry to show the world how awesome they are anymore. They kind of just start coasting because every need is taken care of, there's no edge there. But yeah, let's say by the end of this journey you want to have written 5 novels. Well, if you haven't even started page 1, what you're doing clearly isn't enough. You want to know a trick? With whatever it is you're delaying, just do it badly but quickly first. You want to know what'll happen? You'll most likely say, damn, that sucked, and start fixing whatever sucked. All of a sudden you've made something good. People don't want to make things that suck, that's just not really in our nature. A lot of our egos can't handle it. So if you just start something like writing and just write something badly on purpose, you're going to start fixing it into something better automatically. So one of the most important things I can ever say to you is, just start. Just start the thing. What is it you're waiting for? Someone to give you permission? The universe to send you a literal sign in the sky? After 2020, we just don't know how things are going to go. The period we're living in is going to be very extensive in future history books. We really are like the badasses who lived through the Great Depression, and people wonder, how did they do that? Well, we're here to tell them, you just kinda do, one day at a time. Humans can literally adapt to anything. That's one of our superpowers as a species. Back to You Are Enough. Regardless of your status, physical shape, income, anything like that, you're enough as you are right now to live a good life. There are people in villages in India happy all the time who have literally none of the conveniences we have, and they're happy because they convince their minds to be happy with their circumstances. So when you're depressed over a breakup or something, keep some perspective. Was the breakup really as bad as it could have been? Did you go through a messy divorce where you lose the house, lose the kids, she immediately gets with the guy she was cheating with in the old house, you owe her child support for 18 years, and you go into deep depression? Because if that's happened to you, my condolences, but if not, I promise you can get through your current emotional hardships. Keeping perspective will make you realize that while yes, you're likely not at your ultimate life goal, you still have enough and are enough to be happy right now, but recognize that you're wanting a better life for yourself, so action has to be taken in that direction. Another thing to think about is think about me for a second with teaching you. Say all I did was look at pictures on Facebook of nice quotes and I tried to teach you about self-development. I'm actually going to get into something a bit different here, which is the difference between dipping your toes in the water and diving into the ocean. When all you do is read a quote to improve yourself and that's the only thing you do, you're dipping your toe in the water. As in what you're learning is very, very surface level. So you're getting maybe a 0.1% gain. Well, if you're wondering why things aren't going as well as they could for you, have you ever tried, actually immersing yourself, actually going deep into the water? Because that one sentence from an image might be equivalent to one sentence from a good book. Well, I've got good news for you. That good book is probably around 300 pages, and while the nice little digestible quips can be powerful, what could a whole paragraph do for you? One paragraph from a powerful book can change your entire life. What would pages on pages increasing the intensity about a certain topic that's helpful do? The value you would get would just go up and up and up. So while those nice easy quotes do have their place, I read them too, recognize that many people are reading them too because they're easy to read and make us feel good. And often what you'll start to notice is the quotes from all these different people start saying the same things again and again and again. That's why I get so frustrated with some spiritual people because yes, we get it, love and light are good. What else have you got? How do people go about putting those into the world? Why? Besides love and light, what about all the other tons of spiritual things that rarely ever get talked about? If you want an easy path to success, start becoming an avid reader. Reading isn't for nerds, it's for people who are serious about doing well. So I guess you could say they're nerdy about doing well in life, and that's fine. So remember, an easy quote can get you maybe a 1% gain, and that's if you read it and apply it, not just read it then do nothing with it. But actually reading an entire useful book and processing it and reflecting on it and integrating it, I can't even put a percent on the gains it gets you. You can improve exponentially, so the gains you can get from one good book can be 500% or 1000%, versus the 1% you've been picking up here and there. If you want things to go easier for you, start putting in serious effort and your life will dramatically change for the better. One other advantage you'll have is most people don't take most of anything seriously, so by taking things seriously, you'll already automatically start getting mentally ahead of them. Once your actions put into the world start matching the mental aspect, you're going to become very strong very quickly. So if you're into self-development just kind of going about it lackadaisically, it's not enough. Do yourself a favor and start taking it seriously. I'm not perfect, I'm not noble, and I'm not better than you or worse than you or anything like that, but as long as I recognize that there's always ways I can improve, I've got a fighting chance at doing the things I want. So try to take inventory of your life. Always know deep in your core that you can achieve whatever you want. But ask yourself, okay, I want this thing, I also want this thing. What efforts am I making towards these things? Are they enough? If not, why am I delaying? Why do I think I have infinite time? I ask myself these questions too so I can make sure I stay on the path I want to be on and do what I can while I'm here.